The UK, once an economic powerhouse, is now teetering on the edge of a daunting economic failure. As the UK falls apart over the economy, supply chain issues, inflation, and more, many fear the once thriving nation is spiraling towards a financial meltdown. The question on everyone's lips, is the UK truly facing an economic collapse? UK's economy and supply chains in perspective. The pandemic has been a wild storm for the world, and it's changed how we shop, eat, and live. The UK, which loves to trade with the world and gets about a third of its income from it, felt the effects deeply. A big example? About half the food that is eaten in the UK comes from other countries. With the pandemic creating chaos and lockdowns everywhere, getting goods, especially from East Asia, became tricky. When the chilly winds of autumn 2020 blew in, the people responsible for national statistics did a study. They wanted to know how people felt about what they found on the shop shelves. As Christmas drew near, it became clear that there was a dip in the variety of things available. From the kids' toys to our favorite festive turkeys, things were missing or in short supply. Even when products were made in the UK, the raw materials or parts often came from abroad. And with global shipping being a mess, things weren't reaching the UK. To add to the mess, the poultry industry, which relies on feed from other countries, struggled. This was made worse because of the worker shortages due to Brexit. Zoom ahead to 2023, and while shop shelves are looking a bit more filled, prices have gone up. People are also waiting longer for building materials like stone or wood, which have been in high demand worldwide. Adding to the challenges, troubles between Ukraine and Russia have stirred things up even more. These two countries play a huge role in making sunflower oil, a staple for many dishes. So issues there are affecting our kitchen shelves back home. The financial side of the UK is feeling these shocks too. By September 2023, prices of goods and services had risen significantly. People, sensing the pressure on their wallets, began to tighten their spending belts, especially in non-food stores. The overall cost of these disruptions is a big deal. It's like a household having unexpected bills popping up month after month. For the UK's businesses, the unexpected bill totals around £12.2 billion a year. Experts predict that these hiccups in the supply chain will continue, stoking the fires of rising prices and putting off other plans the government had. Job market dynamics post-pandemic. Did you notice that a lot of people had more money in their pockets during the pandemic? You might be nodding. With everything closed, there wasn't much to do or buy, and many of us found ourselves saving more than we ever imagined. Believe it or not, in the UK, about £260 billion ended up sitting in bank accounts. You'd think that once things started opening up, everyone would be in a rush to spend and make up for lost time, right? And indeed, that's what many businesses thought. As shops began to open their doors, restaurants set their tables, and airports buzzed once again, business owners believed they'd be swamped with customers. And they were, for the most part. But here's the twist. They were short-staffed. Imagine waiting at a restaurant for ages because there aren't enough waiters, or your online order being delayed because there aren't enough people to pack them. That's the situation many businesses found themselves in. But why? You'd think that with so many job openings, people would be rushing to grab them. But many who used to work before the pandemic, especially older folks and those who work for themselves, were a bit hesitant to jump back in. Some were concerned about their health, and let's be honest, after a long break, it's tough to get back to the daily grind. Here's where things get interesting. Recent numbers showed that there were a whopping 1.3 million job vacancies. Meanwhile, unemployment was super low, the lowest it's been in 40 years. Do you think that's good news? But when we dive deeper, it's a bit more complex. The Institute for Employment Studies found that the number of people available to work had dropped by about 1 million since before the pandemic, and 3 out of every 4 people that dropped out were either older folks or those not feeling well. But there was another reason too. With Brexit happening around the same time, a lot of workers from the EU decided to head home, adding to the labor shortage. And if that wasn't enough, here's another twist. While there were lots of jobs, the pay wasn't that great. In fact, when you consider the rising cost of things, people were essentially earning 4.5% less than the year before. It was like a toxic mix. Lots of jobs, not enough workers, and pay that wasn't keeping up. Lastly, the government, in trying to help, ended up making things a tad more complicated. They paused some programs that would help train people for jobs and left one that many employers didn't really like. It was a bit too complicated and pricey for their liking. But that's not the only thing shaking the economic landscape. UK's economic landscape post-Brexit. Brexit, the UK's decision to leave the European Union, has been like shaking up a snow globe, with pieces still falling and settling. As we navigate life after a global pandemic, it's become vital to see how this monumental decision has affected the UK's economy, especially in terms of trade and investment. Imagine a bustling marketplace where traders and customers are always exchanging goods. Post-Brexit, the UK's marketplace saw some big changes. The Centre for Economic Policy Research found that a hard Brexit meant more barriers to trade, leading to higher costs for businesses. And interestingly, these challenges were most felt in areas that actually voted to leave the EU in the first place. After Brexit, the UK became a bit more closed off in terms of trading, especially when compared to its neighbors, like France. It's like choosing not to attend global parties as often. And this change in behavior isn't just because of the pandemic. Brexit has played a big role. This change matters because being less open might affect how productive we are and even the growth in our paychecks. Then there's the unfinished business of Brexit. Think of these as pending arguments between old friends. Issues like the Northern Ireland Protocol and unresolved border checks are still up in the air, and these unresolved matters could further shake the UK's economic stability. The UK's economic roller coaster. The UK's economy is like a heart monitor, showing peaks of good times and dips during challenging ones. Right now, after all the spending to fight the pandemic, many are wondering how the economy is faring. As the money from pandemic support slows down, many are looking towards businesses, wondering if they can step up to help the nation grow. The International Monetary Fund, a big name in global money matters, isn't too hopeful about the UK's financial future. They think next year might see the UK drop in its ranking among the G7 countries. Why? Because of lesser public spending. They predict a growth of just 1.2%, which might sound okay, but when we compare it with other countries in the G7 group like the US, Germany, and Canada, it's not as rosy. Different experts have various predictions. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development says the UK's economy might shrink by 0.4%. In contrast, the UK's own government has a bit of hope. They see a potential growth of 0.6% in 2024 and a further rise to 0.9% in 2025. But they also believe the start of 2023 might be a little rough with a slight decline. The IMF also thinks there might be a dip in 2023, partly because of rising living costs. In 2022, things looked promising. The UK had the fastest growing economy among the G7. But when we take a closer look, comparing growth from one quarter to the next, it wasn't all sunshine. The UK wasn't doing as well as the others. Another group, Consensus Economics, has a gloomier outlook. They believe the UK's economy will go down by 1% in 2023. To give you a comparison, Europe's economy might only decrease by 0.1%. Other areas in the world might even see a bit of growth. Statista, a company that loves their data, agrees. They think the UK might be the only G7 country to face a recession in 2023. To sum it up, the UK's money matters are complicated. There's a dance between what was, what is, and what might be. While the signs point towards tough times ahead, it's also a chance for reinvention and fresh starts. The path forward might be uncertain, but with unity and purpose, there's hope for a brighter economic dawn. Do you think the UK's economy will recover or only get worse from here? What happens if the UK's economy collapses? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.